We know we've had to take money out of the budget, and we are taking money out of the budget. Taking £43 million out of Barnet's budget is jolly difficult. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for the council to save, and we made a conscious decision that we wouldn't hurt the people who most need our protection. So 77% of these cuts have come actually by efficiencies or improvements in the way we deliver services. It will be very successful. It's working. We're well ahead of the game. Other boroughs look in envy that we did actually start this in good time, and we're relatively in a better position than they are in that we will deliver the balanced budget that we have to do by the end of 2014. I mean, it's a series of small changes that have been aggregated into one big catch-all name, but no one can argue really with many aspects of it. The idea of cooperating with other boroughs to provide services isn't new, and it's very sensible. What we're doing with Harrow, sharing the legal services, will enable us to make economies of administration at the top of that service, and it'll also enable us to employ better lawyers without having to go out to the private sector. It's really a very neat scheme, and it suits the Labour borough of Harrow and the Conservative borough of Barnet, and it's an example of being pragmatic. The work we're doing with families, intervening early in a family's problems rather than waiting for more complicated family issues to develop throughout life, this is a no-brainer as well. There is some outsourcing, but that's not a problem. It is something that is accepted by most people across the country, that you employ companies to do things. It may well be the same people are doing the jobs, but there will be a commercial management which will be fleeter of foot. People will not put up with bad service today, and neither will we. We want to give a much, much better level of service. And I believe we can, and we can save money for the taxpayer in the process. Well, I suppose some of the improvements we've made in the housing system have been absolutely seminal to what we've done, and have created a theme of activity that runs through everything we've achieved in this council. The changes to the housing allocations policy, where we've got rid of an outmoded and very complicated computer-generated system and replaced it by a simple human contact form of engagement, and we've been able to tell people, yes, we can help you, or we've been able to be much more straightforward when we can't help and say, no, I'm sorry, we can't help, and send them somewhere else where they can receive help or they can look after themselves. It's been very important. It's something we've done. It's achieved greater fairness, it's transparent, and it's honest. The other thing we're working on is, of course, new tenancy policies, which will eliminate the lifetime tenancy of a council flat, so that this is only, of course, for new applicants. We're not disturbing anyone who's got one, but it really is an important step forward, that we're giving help to people whilst they need help, but only whilst they need help. So if after a few years someone has made it big, got a fantastic job, then yes, we'll be asking them to go and buy their own house. They won't keep the council flat for life. And similarly, if someone's had a family and brought their family up and they're occupying a house that we urgently need for a family, we might ask those people to move to a flat or somewhere else. It's really just using the facilities we've got to the best advantage and making sure that we are using all the assets of the council as efficiently as possible to give help to people who most need it. Well, it's been done with a very pragmatic way, that we're regenerating some of the council estates where, frankly, some of them are decaying and they need to be rebuilt. So we're selling off the land around the outside edges of these estates, and that will be used by the private sector to build houses and flats that will be sold, and the proceeds from those will be used to regenerate the estates within. So it's a double whammy, really. We achieve an improvement in the housing stock, and we're also creating the new homes that we need for people who want to move to the borough. During the construction work on the regeneration estates down at the Grant Park development, at one stage we had half of the people working on the site were from the same postcode. It was a big achievement, and we were very pleased with that. Well, we're trying to help with apprenticeships. I know the government's doing a lot and the Mayor of London is, but we feel there's a niche for the council. There are things that are being missed that we can do, and I know times are hard, but we have managed to find some money to put into apprenticeships. So we have set up a scheme which will ensure that any potential employer isn't adversely affected by employment rights being built up. You know, a small business, I run a small business, we're very afraid to take people on because it's so difficult to get rid of people when you find you can't afford them or it doesn't work out. So if the council through an intermediary company can protect employers from that, then that's great and it makes life easy and we can achieve something. With hindsight, we wouldn't have put the prices of the CPZ permits up by quite so much in one big hit. It's something that we funked over the years and we should have been putting it up as the cost of living increased. We should have had many more gentle increases rather than the big increase that we did do, and particularly with the visitors permits. But we're fixing that now and there will be a shorter term visitor permit which is coming along soon. That's good. We would also, with the changes in the car parking fees in the car parks, we would have not put them up by quite so much. And also we would have offered an alternative means of payment to the pay by phone. I mean, we would have brought the scratch cards in from the start, we would have discounted them to the shops, and we would have bought the credit card machines that we're now buying for the car parks. All this would have made it much easier. But there is a logic to what we did that sometimes is missed. I mean, people do forget that the parking machines were persistently vandalised. They were old, they were breaking. We didn't have the money to replace them. So we were in a hard place. We had reached the stage that this was intolerable, so we introduced pay-by-phone parking. And at the stage when we took the machines out, fully 50% of all payments were already made by phone. So it wasn't an entirely unreasonable decision. I accept people didn't like it, but it was probably the right decision to make. And if we'd introduced an alternative that was satisfactory at the time, I think we would have been in a much better situation. I think the key challenge will of course be to meet the budget that we have to meet. We can't pass a burden on to further generations. We have to do this. And to actually run the detail of we've got to get the detail right of running the council on this reduced budget. It is very important that each email is answered, each telephone call is responded to properly. And we will make sure that does happen.